Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder.
What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
Ted Lasso Season 1, Episode 2, entitled Biscuits. This is Ted's first day at AFC Richmond, where he is the new coach. He brings in the manager, Rebecca, some biscuits, trying to connect with her. I mean, in this episode, Ted is not only trying to connect with her, but trying to connect with everybody, trying to connect with the assistant, her assistant, trying to connect with the team, just trying to see where everybody's at emotionally, trying to get everybody bonded. He wants to make this team a cohesive unit, right? He wants everybody to get along. Teams work better when they work together. And Ted Lasso knows that, and this is his way of getting in there. He wins people over with his kindness, and he brings Rebecca some biscuits, which she loves but can't tell him because she knows her desire is to crush this team, and she doesn't really want him to succeed. So Ted brings her biscuits. They try to bond, but it doesn't go well. So he later goes down to practice. He's showing that he's a little nervous. Coach, his assistant coach Beard, told him an old little remedy for getting over the nerves. Some old advice that Ted gave him back in the day. And Ted continues to try and see what the problems are with the team, see what he can fix, not only with the team itself, but also having his the water boy Nate make a suggestion box so that the team can anonymously put in their whatever requests they have, ideas they have, problems they have with the team. Ted sees one of his teammates, his players, Sam, kind of not really performing very well during the practice, and finds out that he's homesick. He's new player from Nigeria. He's homesick. His birthday's coming up, so Ted, kind of plans to do something special. Tries to collect money from the other teammates to throw a birthday party. You also see Ted realizing that there's drama in the locker room between Roy, who is the veteran, and Jamie, who is the up-and-coming star. Jamie is clearly, Ted wants to, in an attempt, in a desire to be able to communicate with Jamie and try to figure out a way to bring him on board with being part of the team. Like that's Ted is trying to invent the glue that this team needs to get stuck together and to perform together. And in an attempt to see what Jamie's love language is, he goes to the manager, goes to Rebecca, which clearly in a previous scene, she's walking with her assistant through the locker room, and she kind of wants to sway the team as well. And she doesn't know anything about the team. Clearly, she doesn't know who the influencers are, who the people this team looks up to is. And still later on in the episode, Ted goes up to Rebecca to get her advice, to see who she thinks might be able to give him advice on how to communicate with Jamie. And she recommends that he talk to Jamie's girlfriend, Keeley, who is a model and girlfriend of Jamie. So Ted Lasso goes out to do that. Clearly, Keeley and him are, she's his first friend in this new place in the UK. He hit it off with Keeley in the first episode, and this one you see them, kind of bonding a little bit more, kind of having chit-chat. The manager sees that, and she wants to use that. She tells a tabloid photographer to go take shots of Ted Lasso having a talk with Keeley, where he's trying to get information on how to communicate with her boyfriend, but of course the pictures are taken out of context and assumed to be used later on further add division within the team to sabotage the team, which she is doing, which is interesting because her character, like, part of me wishes her character was even more ruthless because there is a sweetness to her character. Like, you can tell that these biscuits remind her of it, like they mean something special to her. There's a scene where Ted comes in after receiving a gift from home, from his kid, where he like sends him a bag of plastic army soldiers that Ted puts one on her desk to protect her from any of the bastards that might come in to talk shit to her. But then also just, he gets some barbecue sauce and he mentions, like, is there a food that reminds you, that brings you to that nice, cozy, warm place, that memory that brings you back home? And then she looks over at the biscuits and says no. So it's like Ted knows he's making headway. Like he mentions in this episode how little headway he's making. But it's clear, like, I mean, when you get new at doing anything, the first initial stages, you're not making a lot of progress. Things tend to move slowly in the beginning of anything. And Ted knows that, but he also knows that there's cracks in the facade. He knows that he's seeking in. Ted's familiar with his charm and his ability. He has a successful coaching career in the U.S., training or coaching, leading a second-tier football team to a victory. He's like the number one of the second-tier sidestepped whatever thing, but he's all about positivity. He leaves all the fundamentals and the planning, the strategizing to his assistant coach, and Ted's really more concerned with the interpersonal relationships between everybody, trying to get everybody on the same page, trying to spread his joy. But yeah, this episode also shows that Roy, despite, not being happy, you see that he has compassion for his teammates, and you see that the suggestion box, he suggested the shitty water pressure in the shower, which by the end of the episode you see that, Ted Lasso's following through. Like there's nothing worse than having a manager pretend to care about your stuff, because you easily and quickly see how little they actually do care when things that have been requested that are easy to fix don't get fixed. They just get ignored. Whereas in this, Ted Lasso following through, which is great. It's great. It's kind of Ted Lasso is kind of like the he's just like the he just wants to do good. He wants to do good. He wants to spread positivity. He wants to take the high road and everything. He understands the importance of people getting together. And he also has just hilarious words of wisdom, like in an early scene in this episode, he's talking to Sam, who is, feeling bummed out because he's homesick. And Ted gives him the piece of advice of being a goldfish. Like, the happiest people are the ones who can think like a goldfish, who, they only have a 10-second memory or whatever. So they never remember the things of what bums them out. And that's one of the things about the show as well, is that the snappy writing. There's really funny writing from all of the characters. The manager, Rebecca, has some funny lines. Ted obviously has just tons of really fun lines that are clearly, like, they're all based in the character too. Like, all of Ted's lines are like somebody that only Ted Lasso in the show could say. But then there's also this side character that you kind of see in the first episode and you see again in this episode. It's just this black schoolgirl that's like in the background, right? You kind of see Ted sees her on his way to the stadium, and she's like, playing soccer or whatever against other people. You see her kind of show up some guys, and he has this line. It's like, I guess the best way to stick it to a man is to go right between the legs, which all of these lines have second meanings in the story, in what's actually happening within the story of this show as well, which is nice. You can tell that the writers really understood what they were doing. Like, they didn't just pack a bunch of lines into something. Like, all these funny, witty lines kind of have an overall. They have like multiple meanings within the story. But this particular character is kind of strange because it's like it's really like this background character that keeps showing up. And at the end of this episode, at the end of the day, which is kind of crazy that in this day he has like his first day at AFC Richmond. They have a training. They do some training. Then they have a game, right? They have a game where they're supposed to beat somebody. Before the game, there's a press conference. And in this press conference, Rebecca gets called out, like Ted Lasso sees the drama that she's dealing with, how they have pretty much a similar issue with tabloids not being a fan of them for different reasons, obviously. But Ted sees where she's coming from, sees her perspective on it. And then they go into this match where they had won before. They get blown out in this one. So it's like all in one day, all of these things are happening. And then after the game, Ted throws a party for Sam, a birthday party for Sam to help cheer him up. Jamie is Ted pulls him aside after the game. Jamie's really pumped up that he scored the only goal. Like, it was 4-1. And AFC Richmond scored the one. They lost. There's a little moment of the commentators speaking about the game as Ted's bringing Jamie into the office to talk to him. And they're saying, it's like a complete blowout, that Roy did his best defensively to help save the game from being even worse. And of course, there was the worthless kind of gimme point that Jamie scored at the end of the game, which really meant nothing. But Jamie, is all ego and thought he was the best thing. Ted brings him into the office and, following his girlfriend Keeley's advice, gives him positive reinforcement, not blowjobs, which was the other option for getting into Jamie's mind. Gives him positive reinforcement, tells him he's the best athlete he's ever trained, and it's clear that Jamie is like receptive to it. I mean, he instantly was like, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, you understand, you know what I'm talking about. You see what I'm bringing to the table." But then at the end of it, Ted gives him the compliments on his abilities, which are true. I mean, he's an up and coming star, but he's in a sport that requires a team. Like, if you can't function with your teammates, then it doesn't matter how big of a star you are, you're not going to be successful. And Ted has this great line where he tells him, you need to turn that me into an us, and I think you'll go far. And it's a message that sticks with Jamie for about, until he gets changed and then heads out into the parking lot to drive home and runs into a reporter, the tabloid guy, which I think shows up in the next episode. I think is Trent Krim, I believe is his name. I could be off on the reporter's name. But he meets up with Jamie in the parking lot, and Jamie gives a good answer. It's like he gives like, "Oh, we lost as a team. It wasn't just me. I did my best, whatever, but we win as a team, we lose as a team." And then he starts to walk away, and his ego takes over, and he can't help but big himself up, kind of the woe is me. It's a very similar thing that's happening publicly with a lot of people that are bullies that get called out on being bullies, and then they act like they're the victims. Jamie, in a lot of ways, is like that. He doesn't treat his teammates with any respect, constantly talking crap to his team. He is the shit talker of the crew, and a lot of that is ego driven. But it just shoots himself in the foot because it's a team sport. But yeah, so that, and then it ends. The episode ends where you see that the biscuits that the owner, the manager, Rebecca loves, are being baked by none other than Ted Lasso himself, which is just adds to how sweet Ted is, and how he's putting everything into trying to make this situation work, and doing so in a manner that he knows best. So that is episode 2, Biscuits from season 1 of Ted Lasso. Coming next week, next Tuesday, on to episode 3. Go over and get yourself some amazing coffee over at stationhousecoffee.com and follow Station House Coffee on Instagram for the best coffee in the world. Hands down. It's been voted on. It's been chosen. Deal with it, people. It's the best small batch, single origin, premium coffee you will ever get inside of your body. So go order yourself some amazing coffee over at stationhousecoffee.com and give Station House Coffee a follow on Instagram and let them know that I sent you. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder. Follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Buy my merch over at inspireddisorder.com. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out.